Infamously, when Bob Chapek was for a short while, the CEO of Disney, he made the idiotic decision to take a bunch of Disney animation, whether it's Disney Animation proper or Pixar, they're both Disney companies, and dump their movies on streaming, which you remember when they put movies like Soul, Luca, Turning Red on there, a lot of stories started coming out about just how pissed off the people at Pixar were. There was a very unhappy house over there. Well, Bob Iger, of course, came back, and they announced that they would be returning or bringing Soul, Luca, and Turning Red to the theaters. But was that a good idea? And that is the topic of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you got a topic for our show and you'd like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile hotline anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And the question today is about, was this a good idea? Check it out.
Hey, John and crew, this is Charles from Orlando, Florida. My question is in regards to the Pixar re-releases that Disney is putting out in theaters. I want to know if you think this is a misstep on Disney's part. According to Box Office Mojo, Soul did not crack $1 million domestically when it was released for the 2 weeks that it was in theaters, and Turning Red, while opening this past weekend, only made a little over $500,000. Do you think this is a wrong step for Disney to re-release these films when they're barely making any money? Thanks.
I had my mic off there. Made over a little $500,000. Turning Red comes out, made a little over $500,000. Was therefore it a mistake? There's a couple things to keep in mind here, though, and then I'll get to the one major part. Turning Red is a movie that came out almost 2 years ago. And it's not really a re-release because it never had a theatrical release. It was just put straight to Disney. But for about 2 years now, and in some cases longer than 2 years, audiences have been able to sit at home, and if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, for free, watch Soul, watch Luca, watch Turning Red whenever you want it. It's there, free. And it's not like it's a 10-year anniversary or 15, like it was like 2 years ago. Not to mention, Disney put zero marketing budget into promoting the fact that these movies were going to be in theaters. They literally just did online posts and social media stuff and did the odd announcement here and there, but they kept the spending on the marketing of this event extremely minimal. So it doesn't even look like they put a ton of effort into getting people to know that these things were going to be out there. So was it a mistake for them to put these movies out? The answer is no. And the reason it wasn't a mistake was because of what the actual reason was that they put these movies in theaters. Now, normally when you do a big anniversary re-release, you put it out, you want to make a little extra cheddar, make a little bit extra money on that. You don't have to market it too awful much. You get it back out there and whatever. But making money on these movies in theaters was never the motivation for putting these in. There was one reason and one reason only that Disney decided to put Turning Red, Soul, and pretty soon Luca into theaters for a 2-week run. And it was as an apology. This is an apology tour. This is Bob Iger making good for Pixar and going to Pixar and basically saying, we are sorry that the previous leadership took these movies and dumped them on streaming. We are sorry that the previous leadership downvalued the contributions that Pixar makes by no longer making Pixar theatrical event things and downgraded them in the eyes of our consumers. We apologize that that happened, and we know it's too late to make it good, but we at least want to make a gesture that we are going to take these movies that you guys at Pixar matter to us, and we're going to put them in theater. They're not going to make any money. We knew in advance they weren't going to make any money. It was never the goal to make money. This goal was about Bob Iger bending down, puckering up, and kissing the ass of the people at Pixar because he knew they needed to. I mean, look, he's their boss. He can tell them to do whatever he wants, but he knows that the creatives always work best when they feel like they're appreciated. I mean, sometimes business decisions got to be made and they're not popular. True, but when you can keep the creatives happy. And that was always one of the big things before Bob Chapek came around that Disney was always known for. The talent loved working with Disney. Sometimes they had to cut budgets, sometimes they had to do layoffs, but the talent who did work with them always loved working with them. And that changed. That changed when movies like Turning Red, Luca, and Soul got dumped straight to Disney Plus. And this was simply Bob Iger's way of saying, we're sorry. We're sorry that happened. It shouldn't have happened. We're going to, even though it's just a symbolic gesture, it doesn't fix everything, doesn't make back any money, but as a symbolic gesture, it was pretty important. And that's why they did it. And when you understand, Rob, that that's why they did it, then no, it wasn't a mistake for them to do it because they spent hardly anything on marketing. They didn't put up really any more additional dollars. So, Rob, understanding that, does this even, okay, it's a nice gesture, but does this do anything to kind of increase the morale at Pixar, mend the relationship between the parent company and the sub company? I don't know. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Fume. Have you ever tried to break a bad habit and felt like you're climbing uphill? Yeah, we've been there too. But here's a breath of fresh air. Fume. It's not about giving up, it's about switching up. Fume takes your habit and simply makes it better, healthier, and a whole lot more enjoyable. Fume is an innovative, award-winning flavored air device that does just that. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses delicious flavors. You get it. Instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit you're free to enjoy and make replacing your bad habit easy. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your habit. I'll be honest with you guys, I was a little uncertain about it until my package arrived and I tried it. I couldn't believe how perfectly balanced it is, how fun it is to have in your hands, and how great the actual flavor was. Plus, Fume just released a magnetic stand for your Fume, so there's no more losing it around the house. So start the year off right with the good habit by going to tryfume.com/Campea and getting the journey pack today. Fume is giving listeners of the show 10% off when they use my code Campea to help make starting the good habit that much easier. Was it ultimately a mistake for them to put these back out in theaters?
I don't think it's a mistake because, like you said, they didn't. Here's the problem the way I see it. Disney, people don't remember this, but they used to make the majority of their money re-releasing their famous animated films every couple of years. Like every 5 or 6 years, they'd re-release their big animated films because there was a whole new generation of kids that had been born, that grew up. Parents could take them to the theater, and they would do very well. As a matter of fact, that was Disney's part of their business model. And I see no reason why they couldn't continue that. And I think the reason these films, and by the way, making $500,000 with no marketing budget is respectable. It's not unrespectable. But I would say this, if they had obviously, they don't know how much they're going to put into it, but if they had marketed this and done this as a push and said, see for the very first time some of Pixar's most recent triumphs in the movie theater, and turned it into a thing over the course, and say they were going to do it over the course of 4 months or something, and put some marketing dollars behind it, they might have made a nice chunk of change. They could have made $5-10 million, depending on how they marketed it, because people just didn't know they were there.
But wouldn't have even a half-hearted marketing push have cost them more than that $5 to $10 million they could have made?
But I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I mean, it would require, obviously, a savvy marketing campaign, but I'll tell you one thing, it would have gotten more people than saw it now because nobody knew they were out. It's really funny. Like on Valentine's Day, they are re-releasing Amelie. I didn't know this until last night.
One of the truly great movies ever made.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Such a good
Top
movie.
10 of all time. Jean Pierre Gene's Amelie came out in 2001. They're re-releasing it in theaters. I saw a big push on social media that Amelie was coming out. There's a Valentine's Day trailer for it coming out, and it's at quite a few theaters across the Southland. And I don't know if maybe it's just in Southern California. I don't know, but I would imagine not. And I'm like, wow, because that's why I met Elizabeth. And I'm like, because of that movie. And there was a push there, and I started looking into tickets, and some of the tickets they're selling, and it was an ad. And that was more than I ever saw for these Disney re-releases.
The only difference is that Amelie probably isn't readily streaming somewhere like Disney Plus is, you know what I mean?
Could be.
But
That
I think there could have been a happy medium to both your points.
Well, see, but that's the problem too. There's also a bit of distance between us right now and when Amelie first came
Yeah.
out, right?
right.
So
100%.
nostalgic.
These
Yeah.
movies were just out a few breaths ago
Yeah.
and have been available for free on streaming,
Right.
whatever. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think
I-
we'll ever see them do it again like this.
They've been also doing
Oh,
a
yeah.
restoration of Amelie in 4K. So maybe this is the first time. That's why I was curious. I'm like, ooh, is it the new
Well,
restoration?
then in that case, like the advertisement, I mean, the movie re-release itself becomes an advertisement for the home video
Yes,
purchase, right?
100%.
So they're kind of treating it as a commercial.
Yep.
I mean, when feel like when it comes to Bob Iger doing this, I'm reminded of Doc Holliday from Tombstone. Make no mistake, it's not revenge he's after. It's a reckoning. It's a reckoning. You know, it's
Yeah.
a resetting.
It was a bit of a reckoning, and we'll see if how much the people at Pixar appreciate it or whether it was an empty gesture. We'll see.
But in a way, when you look at box office of Pixar, theatrical box office, does this get counted? Because $500,000, if that's the only money a movie like Seeing Red made in theaters, that's going to go on to the and there'll have to be an asterisk next to it saying, well, it
no,
never
you're
got-
right. It will go there.
And
right?
it brings down Pixar's overall, overall
Well, that's been happening
average.
anyway.
Right. But I mean, to have 4 movies come out that gross less than $1 million substantially pulls down your box office average.
But I think we know. I think
course.
if they were ever to do that official averaging out, they probably wouldn't count these 3 movies. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.